Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the GameDev.tv community podcast. I'm your host, KB, and this podcast brings you the audio experience of GameDev.tv. Now, let's get right into the podcast. But yeah, so Zoe, today is your day. What brought you here?
So, it's a bit of a weird and wiggly road for me. Which I think actually quite a lot of people have in terms of their career at the moment. But I discovered, if we're going right back, so I was first of all a DJ, was my first thing. And I discovered that when I was doing my undergraduate degree in my early 20s. And just kind of like, I don't know, I just completely fell in love with the idea of audio, just something when I was, playing music to people and just seeing how people reacted to music, something kind of shifted in my consciousness. I've always loved music. It's always my first love. But then I kind of started exploring like sound and the way sound made people feel and the way that you could tell stories with sound. And, that evolved and changed. And then I started studying sound at university. And then I discovered podcasts there properly, because there was a long time where podcasts existed. And then, but they were kind of like, they weren't what they are now. And what they are now is like huge, it's like one of the, in the UK, obviously, you can probably hear from my accent, I'm from the UK. In the UK, it's one of the largest growing creative industries is podcasting, which is crazy. But then, 5-10 years ago, it wasn't a big thing at all. So when it started to sort of blossom, that's when I sort of moved my practice towards just doing kind of pure audio. Before that, I was, working on sound for TV and film and all kinds of things. But I kind of ended up where I am now just because it's such an amazing storytelling method and platform. So yeah, very long-winded explanation. But it was basically just starting off by playing really, like, I don't know, lots of funky music to lots of really like wrecked people in very dark rooms.
What do you think about wrecked people?
Well, sorry, like they may or may not have consumed substances that may or may not be legal. Is what wrecked means. Allegedly, I don't know.
No, that's great. They were your first fans.
Yeah. And I did that for a long time with my collective. It's just really fun, but yeah, kind of DJing and playing records for people and just like, I don't know, just moving through what audio and sound could do was my sort of start. Yeah, that was like, maybe coming up to 7 or 8 years ago. Before that, I was just doing academic things, writing lots of essays and learning about Plato and Emmanuel and stuff.
What was your did you start doing music when you were younger?
Sort of. I sort of played around with lots of instruments and was a massive sort of audiophile when I was a teenager, but didn't really start appreciating like DJing and playing music live as an art until I was in my early 20s. It was just, before that, it was just lots and lots of listening and lots of just loving the stuff that I heard. But yeah, early 20s, I would say. Yeah.
So what were you passionate about when you were like really young, or like interested in?
That is a very good question. Because a lot of it was video games when I was a kid, honestly, and I sometimes wasn't a very happy child, and I still do this now. I realized that video games are a kind of mindfulness for me. So it's just a place that I can go, like a world that I can go to, and just you're in it and you're just there, and it's kind of like a weird meditation where you're not thinking about anything else. You're literally just focused on this immersive kind of experience. And for me as a child, I just loved sort of going into my like dark room and playing all of these games and just being like amazed at these sort of stories that games could tell. And I mean, yeah, I'm now nearly 30 and they still hold that same place for me, where it's just like a whole world that I can go and play around in. And I can sort of, if I have, because you know, I'm quite a busy person, I can let the sort of busyness sort of float away and go, and I will spend some time in this world not really thinking about it, which is really cool. Yeah.
That's beautiful. What were some of the games you played when you were younger?
I am a big Tomb Raider fan. Love Tomb Raider. That was my favorite game series. I think it probably still is. Not the new ones though.
Why? Because they are different than the old. They're more like an Uncharted.
Yeah, I'd say they're very entertaining games, but I kind of feel like it's that thing of like rose-tinted lenses, isn't it? I kind of feel like they've lost a bit of their soul. I don't know what exactly it is.
No, I understand. Yeah.
But I play them and I'm like, yeah. Like I'm entertained by this, but there's something missing from them. I don't know if it's because as a child they used to absolutely terrify me. Like
Really? What do you mean? Really? Because I never played Tomb Raider, so they were scary.
Oh yeah, I remember being a child and being absolutely terrified of these games, and it was partly to do, I think, with the first few, and this is like a sound design thing. There was often very little music in them, and the music would be used to like punctuate moments of like, you know, action or terror. So you would just have silence and this kind of like weird sort of like ambient sound. So you'd be walking along, you'd be like, oh, I'm not really sure like what's going on with this. And then there'd be like, you know, like dinosaur would appear and you'd be like this sudden sort of shot of music. And it used to absolutely terrify me so much.
Oh my goodness.
And also kind of graphically, I don't know what you think about this, KB, but when games had graphics that made sort of like the models, so like the characters and the enemies look, you know, weird and pixelated, I would always find that so much more frightening than like horror games now where you can see sort of monsters in all their HD glory, because there's something like that there was something about those sort of pixelated models where you can't quite tell what it is that would always make me feel so uncomfortable. And it used to happen in Tomb Raider all the time, where something would jump out at you and you just be like, I actually don't really know what that is. And I find that terrifying. But now, because we're so graphically capable, it's almost like you see all of it and you know exactly what you don't know what it is because it's just a made up creature. But you know, there's like a sense of uncanniness in old games that really used to freak me out. And I wonder if that's what Tomb Raider's missing. I don't know, but
I mean, it could be. I don't really know if I feel the same way about the whole being more scared about pixelated creatures. Just because I don't think I played a lot of horror games when I was younger. But what reminds me of being like all pixelated, kind of, is the old James Bond games, because it was like the graphics weren't always high up. But anytime I had to hide from like enemies or do like those stealth missions, they would scare me to death. I don't know why. I was just like, I can't be found, and then oh my gosh, she's there, and then I have to make it out in time. I could not. To be honest, like we talked about it on that episode that we recorded about me, and I still haven't posted on it yet. But like, I had a lot of anxiety about stuff. So these games, they fueled. I was just like, like I can't do this. Like there's just certain situations, whether it's in the game or real life, where I just couldn't handle it. So like, I mean, scary things always scare me, whether it's pixelated, whether it's real life, whether like Halloween Horror Nights. I'll go into those things. I see the person get scared, and I'd still be scared. I'll be even more scared. I don't know why. I get like, it's the anxiety of it. But.
Yeah, right. Well, this is the thing. I feel like well, this is not a size fits all thing, but if you do have anxiety, There's those people, like, so my husband, for example, absolutely loves to be scared. He loves, like, horror films. He loves horror films.
It's all my friends.
Right? Loves roller coasters.
Yeah.
And all this. And I'm like, I have
Do you not like roller coasters?
No, I don't. No, can't stand it. I just
Come
don't.
on. Those at least are fun.
Okay, I mean, maybe, yeah. I'm sure they are, but
Sure.
I've tried them before and I don't really like them. I'll always try something once, but it's not my thing. But I feel like if you have very bad anxiety, like, you're kind of at a low level sort of fear all the time. So it's like, why would you want to put yourself in a situation that makes you feel more scared? Because, like, that's your life experience, is you are just scared. That's what I always think about myself. So I do
So
sometimes.
you're always, like, you know how they have that Hulk scene in Avengers where it's like, the secret is I'm always angry?
Yeah.
You're always scared?
A little bit scared. Because, yeah, that's
it's funny, it's like, like, what if there's like a scene where it's like, pretend to be scared, and it's like, you don't get it. I'm always scared.
Okay, I'll pretend to be scared. Ready? Okay, I'm not doing anything. Do you know what? I'm always a little bit scared.
It's funny? I think that I can relate to this so much. Like, I think we're always scared. It's like, crap. Why?
I don't know. It's just like, it's crazy. And you can have sort of, well, the anxiety thing is interesting because you can have all the sort of success in the world and in your career, but there's always like a sense of like, but it might all, fall away in a minute. There's this,
it might. You never know.
It's really bizarre. And you get like really successful people just forgetting that they have done all these amazing things and they're totally capable of doing all of these amazing things again. But obviously there's a fear that, maybe it'll never happen for me again. Maybe I'm not capable of doing it again. Maybe I can't, it's just like, you just have to tell you just that little voice. They're a bad person and they want you to fail. Don't listen to them. They're bad.
Don't listen to that voice.
Do not listen to that voice. They're bad. I don't know how I've got to this topic. We were talking about two.
I want to keep going down this road. So, when did you first feel that way, or did you always feel this way?
I've always had like quite bad anxiety, and it's interesting because I think like you, I'm quite a driven person. Like I'm always like looking at where I am and going, okay, how do I move up the next rung of the ladder, so to speak? So how do I go higher up? Always like that's always what I'm thinking. But then also like having to do that when you have a sort of anxious demeanor is quite challenging. And sometimes it's just like, a case of pushing through it and just learning how to like interact with your faults, let's say, in a constructive way. But that was not the question you asked me. You asked me, I've always been quite an anxious person, but I feel like I've never let it hold me back. I've tried never to let it hold me back, which is difficult, I know.
No, it is. It's because most people don't do that.
It's so hard.
Because there's a lot of people like us, but they always like, they're kind of like, what would happen if we gave in? And you see it, and you're kind of like, no, just hold on a little bit longer. And they're like, I can't. And I'm like, I don't know, because to me, it's like, all I ever see is that like the choice where we choose to let it be, not to let us like define us or stop us. We kind of like move past it. So I can't really think about like, what if I just let myself go?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said for like giving yourself a break, if you are feeling incredibly anxious, but also like kind of letting yourself go. Like what that looks like for me sometimes is just being like, I'll just play video games for an evening, and
I think it's different. It's more like you just kind of let yourself.
I know what you mean. Like you're talking about an actual nervous breakdown. Well, then you should go probably.
Okay, we're not even that, but it's more like your mind, like everything you do is more of like I can't do it because I am the certain way, or life is just your defeatist mindset basically.
Yeah,
Which is
that's a hard one to get out of.
yeah, because I have a friend like that who just no matter what you do, he just can't get out of his situation, and it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose yes, that is a tricky one. And the only way really to get out of that situation, in my opinion, is you go out and you actually achieve something that you're proud of. Because the second that you do, even if it's like a small thing, once you've done something like that, it sort of ignites the flame of, oh, actually, that wasn't so difficult, and I am capable, and maybe I could like do another little thing, and then it's another little thing, but it is hard if you're in that kind of mindset, which is a very easy, especially at the moment, because it's a bad time for a lot of people at the moment. It's very easy to slip into that mindset, but it just takes like a little step, but it's actually quite a big little first step, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, to get out, it's hard. I do appreciate that it's hard. I've been there. I'm sure you've been there as well. It's hard, but
so
yeah.
How do you think you've developed that mindset to like not let it bother you or not let it stop you?
I think actually part of it is not really anything I've done, but it's just the fact that I'm a bit of a workaholic in some ways. So I'll always just have fingers in so many pies, which is like which is great. I really encourage people to do.
I loved it. I remember anybody else say that but you.
Yeah, like I really encourage people to do that, because I feel like it's okay to like have a lot of passions and to like nurture all of them. Even if you've got like one focus, it's good to do lots of things, because they all do feed into each other. And it also, just allows you to like broaden your skill sets. I think it's just, I think a lot of it is just being always doing things. Like I like to be busy. And if you're that kind of person, it's like very easy to make that small little step, because you're like, well, right, I'm like, where's my stuff to do? I want to be busy. I want to be busy. But if you're not in that mindset, it's very hard to start doing that, if you know what I mean. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah. Now, what would you do if you didn't have anything to do?
So this was the thing. Okay, this is interesting. So in the UK we have this thing called the furlough scheme, and basically we've got millions of people who the government is paying their wages for them they're not working though. So it's to keep people in their jobs. So I was one of those people that happened to. So I basically didn't have a job and was doing podcasts and things, but had a lot of free time. At the start, it was absolutely glorious. I'm not going to lie, because I've been working a lot and working very, very hard. So the first couple of weeks was very nice, because everybody needs a break. Even workaholics need a break sometimes.
I think you need the most breaks.
Yeah, so it was really nice. I caught up with a lot of games. I played a lot of games, which was fantastic. But then eventually it's like, yeah, but what's the next project? What's the next thing? Like what's next? And I say that I didn't have anything to do, but actually I was doing things, but just not as much as normal, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I just get bored. I'm quite a hyperactive person as well, so I need to be like doing things constantly, being constantly stimulated. I don't know what I would do. I'd probably just sit and play video games, to be honest, which is fine, but like constructive is good too. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Well, because I was saying that because it's like, what if maybe being a workaholic is just like a distraction or hiding the fact that maybe there's something deeper?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of mine is like, yeah, I'm sure I do distract myself from my anxiety, which is not necessarily a bad thing all the time. Like, it's good to address things, but it's also good to like not like wallow in things. So I think like having projects is a good thing for that. But yeah, you're right. I definitely know many people who just like don't address things in their personal lives because they're working all the time. But it's really like a personal choice. And some people like work is their therapy. So
yeah, if it works, it works.
Well, if it were, I would never tell anybody not to do something or to do something if it was like helping them. But yeah, it can. Yeah, it's definitely can be a excuse not to work on yourself because you're just like, I'm busy all the time, can't stop. You know. So yeah, I do agree with you. I do.
Now, how do you feel when you play video games?
It depends. It depends what I'm playing, to be honest. Like I'm more of a story. I enjoy a good story in a video game. Obviously, there's got to be a good balance between that and gameplay and the actual sort of mechanics of the game. But I do really enjoy a good story because I think video games have an ability to create, you know, immersive worlds and immersive stories that kind of no other medium is able to currently achieve. So it really depends on like where the story is taking me. So could be any kind of emotion really, but all I know is I'm not really thinking about anything else. I'm just kind of in it, which is I think is why I've played video games for so long and just find them just one of the most amazing mediums to explore stories and worlds, and it's just amazing. And I had a long time where I didn't play games because I was focusing on my studies, focusing on my my journalism and all my maybe like last year, the beginning of last year, I started playing games again because I just bought a PS4, so I was really behind. Yeah, so I had a long time because games are an amazing place to sort of go and sort of frolic and play, but they can also be a massive distraction for me, and I can spend just hours and hours and hours playing when I should really be doing other things, which is I think is like a problem for a lot of people, especially people who play video games, because obviously make video games because you so deeply love this medium. You want to just be playing everything, like checking everything out, but there's just not enough time. You know, there's not enough time to be doing that. There isn't. If there was an 8th day in the week, it would be like every week there'd be a video game day, but there's not an 8th day.
Yeah, I wish there was.
I know, wouldn't it be amazing? Although it probably just turn into another like 9 to 5 work day, or would it be a? No, it should be a weekend. If there's another day in the week, it should be a weekend day, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because it needs to be a day before Sunday, because Friday is like still the weekend, we're getting started. Saturday, you only get one day, and then Sunday is like, get ready tomorrow. If you have like Saturday and like an extra day, you'd be so chill on Saturday. You'd be like, all right, cool, I got an extra day.
I think that's right. I think you're right about that. You wouldn't want it to be like another Monday, so everyone has to like have an extra day working. That would not be.
Yeah, no. It's gonna be video game day. It's gonna be a holiday.
Yeah. So yeah.
So do you ever feel guilty? So you feel like does that make you feel bad for playing games too long sometimes?
Not anymore. No, because like now I know how to like manage my time correctly. Yeah. No, it's just time management, like everything is really. It's just managing your time. But I'm glad that I've revisited games as a medium because I just think they're amazing. I'm so happy to see how far they've come, really, since I was a kid. Although, I mean, the pixelated enemies thing, I do miss that. I really miss stuff that you can't quite make out what it is. It's just, I think
we still have some games like that though, like some indie games. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. definitely. There's just an element of terror that you can't recapture in HD, which is quite fun.
Surprising, because I feel like it's the opposite. But for
Yeah.
me, like the more I can see it, the more it's like
It should be, but it's not for me.
That's interesting.
A different way around. But yeah.
Now, when you started doing music, what instruments did you play around with, or was it just like software, or?
Yeah.
And
So
how old were you too?
I started properly playing around with music things when I was like 20. So I came very late.
Yeah, late bloomer.
Yeah, very much so. Very much late bloomer. I spent a lot of my teenage years like not really having a clue what I wanted to do. I'm one of those people who,
Same.
yeah, just like will just flitted around, did lots of different things, and got into like music production when I was in my early 20s. I took I guess it would be like the equivalent of a community college for you. Yeah, like I took a course at a community college on how to use this bit of software, and then I was just like, I think I need to go into audio. Like I love this. It's just great. I love doing all of this recording and, you know, making music. I can do it because I've done it for so long, and you're sort of expected to, as a sound designer, especially on small project, you are just expected to do music as well, is a lot of what happens, even though it's actually like, I'm actually not a composer or a musician, but I'll do it for you because I can whip up something for you. It's not my first love. But yeah, I can do it, and I do enjoy messing around with it sometimes. But my thing is creating sound effects and sort of soundscapes and working with voice and all this kind of thing. But yeah, in my 20s is when I messed around with music, and that sort of moved into another area for me. Yeah.
And that was because of school, or because you just were interested?
I'd moved to London, and didn't really know anybody here, and the way that I just completely tried to throw myself into the city, because London's quite a what's the word? Hostile. It's quite a hostile place if you don't know anybody here.
Oh, because
It's quite hard. It's very fast paced, and it's quite like cutthroat. So everything's very expensive. Like you have to work long hours. It's kind of like, I imagine like some
New York
new
City?
based listeners, yes, will definitely identify with this. So
I've been to London before. Once.
Whole different story if you live here.
Oh, okay, yeah, because it was not like I just didn't really get that New York vibe, maybe. I don't know, it's been a while actually, and I wasn't there that long.
If you first move here and you don't know anybody, it's quite hard to like move into circles of people that you can become friends with. And I was very lucky because I found those people very early on. But I know that it is hard for a lot of people. So I just, I like to try new things out. So I was like, I'll try this course. I've just started DJing. Let me try this production stuff, see what it's like. And just like loved anything to do with audio. And I was like, I think I need to do this. Like maybe this needs to be one of the pies that I have a finger in, or two, whatever.
Pumpkin pie.
Yeah, right. But yeah, like I said, I love music and I always will. But as in terms of my career, like I definitely moved very swiftly on from that. And like I'll make a bit of music like whenever I'm asked to, but it's definitely just like another skill that I have that I can use, but not my sort of love or my passion when it comes to creating things. Yeah.
Were you scared to move to London?
Oh yeah, I really didn't want to. But if you are, well, first of all, all of my family moved down here. So I grew up in the northeast of England, which is very near to Scotland. So I was near the Scottish border.
Really?
Yeah, like my parents moved down here. I had just dropped out of university and was like, well, guess I'm gonna move back in with my parents. So I moved I moved down here and didn't really want to, and I still very much now have a love-hate relationship with the city. Like it's now kind of where my home is, but there's certain aspects of it which I find very distasteful. Just like the pace of it. Well, not anymore actually. It's kind of changed with COVID, but the pace of it, like how expensive everything is, how large the city is. It takes a long time to get around. But then there's other things like the creative scene's amazing, which was really good for me, making like connections and building a career here. You know, just there's a lot of these opportunities. Like, so yes, I was scared to move here just because I didn't know anybody. But I'm happy that I did. Obviously, I feel like this city has afforded me a lot of opportunities. But it's one of those places where once you see opportunity flying by you, you just need to grab it, because there are so many other people just as talented, just as hungry as you, who are also going to go for it. So you need to be like, bam, 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 go, go, go. It's like New York. Again, similar sort of vibe to that. Interesting place.
Look at you being all inspirational. I gotta go get after it. Grab your opportunities.
You do.
Go.
You have to like, I mean, yeah, especially again, COVID, more people going for more things. You just have to absolutely go for it. And like, if there is something that you want to do, you have to spend time cultivating whatever craft you've got going on, and just like take a head first run at it, because there are so many other people trying to do exactly the same thing, that you need to be the one whose head is the hardest and breaks through that barrier first. You know,
it's true. We might use that for the title. Gotta bash your way through.
You got, and if you have, you know, other things going on, like, you know, you're a person of color or you're a woman, and like, I mean, I'm one of the only women in audio that I even know. I mean, we're a very small amount of people. You have to be like, your head has to be like, bam, 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 so much stronger. You have to try so much harder. But you know, you can do it. You can do it. Like, more to do and to focus on, but it's possible. It's just more work, you know.
Can't be like Judge Judy. You know, Judge Judy.
Yes, Judge Judy.
She kills it. She's the best. I love her.
She is the best.
Yeah.
She's like she must be like 200 years old, and she's still doing.
She's still doing it. She is.
Yeah, she's still.
It could be a puppet. Like.
It was Judy. She won't. I'm joking. Allegedly.
So how long did you study for?
So I studied. So I did sound design, and it was kind of like an audio engineering course too. So I did that for 3 years, and it was an interesting course, because the only grades that mattered were in the final year. So usually in the UK, you'll do a 3-year undergraduate. First year won't count, because you're getting drunk and not turning up to your 9 a.m. lectures.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course.
In first year, so they don't count that one. And then the second and third year will count. But in my course, it was just the third year that counted. And I think it was probably because they wanted you to like develop as an artist and a creative in the 2 years. So you'd like be quite happy to take risks in those first 2 years and just try stuff out, because there was no, like, you're not getting a grade in that. If you're just trying something out and it doesn't work out, it's fine, because you're not getting marked on it. The alternate thing that happens is people just mess around for 2 years, and then they get to the third year and they're like, oh no.
That's weird. Like,
it's weird. Yeah, you'd be surprised that a lot of people did it, but yeah, not me. No, I got to. I was 23 when I started my degree, and was just like, I am here to absolutely like smash this out of the park.
Wait. So before 23, what were you doing?
Lots of different things. I had lots of.
But you weren't in school?
No, so it's a bit of a weird story. So I started a BA. I started an undergraduate, and then dropped out halfway through, came down to London and was just doing like lots of odd jobs. I went traveling for many months, etc. Just did lots of odd jobby things, and then came back to education when I was 23. And in hindsight, I should have just waited until later on, because I didn't know what I wanted to focus on, and I wasn't in the right mindset to do it until I got to like my mid-20s. But I actually think it's a very good bit of advice. Like if you're not sure about further education, just take a couple of years, do some other stuff. Don't jump right into it. That was a massive mistake that I made, because it was a strange time in the UK, because the university fees were about to be tripled. And if I hadn't gone in the first instance, if I hadn't started university when I did, it would have cost me 3 times more. So my year was pushed into further education when actually we shouldn't have been. But now my advice would be, if you're not sure about it, just wait around. It might not be the right thing for you, and there's lots of other ways to learn your craft. If it isn't for you, I really enjoyed it as like an adult. So I was a mature student. It was like, really? Okay, fine. I don't take offense to that. It's fine.
You're good. It's just crazy, because it's like I started college too this year, which I'm 23.
Right.
It's funny. You and I started this. I was like, wait a minute, what?
I actually think that's such a good thing to do. I think it's, and like knowing you, I think, yeah, this is like the perfect time for you to do it, and you're like in the headspace that I was in when I started. So you're gonna do a fantastic job. I'm just gonna tell you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
No, it's true. And yeah, I was just in the right frame of mind to just be like, I just want to smash this out of the park, and I will accept nothing less than me doing that. So I worked really hard. And yeah, I can't remember what the question was that you asked me in the first place.
I asked you how long did you study for?
3 years. I've given you such a long answer.
No, this is what I want. I like this.
Yeah. So I think it's good. I think it's good to wait. I genuinely think it's a good thing to wait if you're not sure about further education, because it's a commitment. It's a money commitment, especially in the US.
Money, yeah.
Like it's such a massive money commitment for you guys. And yeah, it's good to just spend some time. Travel is so important. If you can do it, privileged to do it. Not everybody does.
Also, if you are going to travel, it's not as expensive as you think.
It's not.
I promise you, it's not.
It's not. Yeah, if you're not sure, you just give it a year or two.
Yeah, and now with YouTube, you can try anything that you want to do on YouTube. Like,
yeah.
And there's a lot of simulation games where you can like pretend to be a surgeon. So you can be like, you can go play around. It's not the real thing, but you can still get an idea. It's like, do I really enjoy doing this? Can I do this every day? Am I fit for it? Like, can I do it? You might have anxiety while playing a game. You're like, oh, I can't do it in this game. I can't probably do it in real life. Like, you never know. So try it out. And then GameDev.tv courses too, like, they're not that expensive, and you can still learn the quality of content that you would learn in like a school. So it's like, give all these things a chance, and it's like, wait, I need more? Then go to a higher education. It's more of the being careful with the debt, because you don't want to, that can destroy you. Like, how can you be passionate and creative and do things that you want to do when you're always like, how am I going to pay for this, or how am I going to do this, or how am I going to, like, that's one. It's like the Maslow hierarchy. If you don't have your like shelter and your like thing together, then you can't move up. And the thing to do great things is to be able to be up in the ladder of the hierarchy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was my bit.
No, you're right. 100%. I wish it's much easier for us in the UK, because it's not this, like, the student loan system is very different. You only start paying it back when you make over a certain amount of money, and it gets written off completely.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So the actual sort of the cost, like you pay, but it's tight.
But yeah, it's crazy because in like the US, it depends on what kind of loan you got. But if you got one, the moment you pull out the loan, it starts building interest.
Yeah.
And then that's horrible. And the other one, it doesn't pay interest until you finish school. But there is never like, oh, once you make enough money, then you have to pay it. No, no, no. It's like you gotta pay, and if you're not able to pay it, it's just gonna increase, increase, increase. And for some people, they literally die with their student debt because of the interest, and you can't go bankrupt on it. I feel like that's like the biggest scam ever. Everything else you can be like, all right, like I can't pay this, but for that, the student loans follows you to the day you die, forever and ever and ever.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, in the US, I know it's a huge problem, and it does send people into poverty situations. But in the UK, it's like slightly different because you just like I think I've paid off like £1,000 of my student loan, and that's it. And no one will ever come round and repossess your furniture because of it. Like it's so much more relaxed.
Yeah,
and then in Scotland, Scottish students don't pay at all. They have no fees.
that's amazing.
Yes, yeah. It's amazing. So you have to be. I mean, yeah, especially US listeners, super careful with higher education, or get a scholarship.
Yeah, there you go. Get a scholarship.
If you can. Yeah.
If you can, do it. Yes, please.
Yeah. Right.
So, did you make any sacrifices while, like, your little learning journey between, like, 20 and when you became, like, really good at music?
Sacrifices. Yeah, like, sort of in terms of I would spend time working on my craft rather than it's all the classic stuff that people do, like rather than like having a crazy weekend, which I've had my share of. I've done that kind of thing too, but I would work on my website. I've been a music journalist for like 5 years, I would work on my website. I would work on my writing. I would edit other people's writing. I'd give them feedback. I'd spend just whatever free little bits of time that I had just working on things. And I suppose the main thing is you have to be, if you feel like something is important enough to you, you need to be willing to make like a future sacrifice for that thing. So it's almost like being like, I care about this thing so much. Am I willing to sacrifice something in the future for it? So like, hanging out on a weekend with someone. Do I love this enough to be able to sacrifice something? I'm not even doing it now, maybe in the future. Like then it's a passion if you're happy to even look forward and think I'll make sacrifices later on for this as well, not just right now,
Okay.
But yeah, just like working like with studying. I was working at the same time, so I had a job at the same time, but my job was quite brainless, so I could just like focus on my studies, which is really important. But I would just spend like hours doing things, and because I was like relatively new to audio, everything was in the grand scheme of things. So I had people on my course who had done music production for years or had done so I was very much like the baby of the class. Yeah, right. And so everything took longer because I was just learning it fresh, and we'd be learning something, everybody would be going, yes, I understand that, and I'd just be like, I guess I'm gonna have to go do some extra reading on this because I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah,
you're like
yes.
What?
Or I'd be like, excuse me, I don't understand. Can you please explain? I'm that person in the class. Which I think is a good, if you've got the ability to do that, I think it's really important when you're studying to be like, I don't understand what you're saying. Could you please explain it to me? Because everyone else thinks that, and they're not saying it.
That's true.
Is often the case. So if you're like, excuse me, tell me, you're doing it for them as well. I think that's what I was.
Star student.
Star student.
Yeah. And then, okay, you became a music journalist.
Yeah, so this is
when was that? Like 21, 22?
This is a really interesting story. So we have this thing in the UK called it's got a different name now, but it used to be called Job Seekers Allowance. So it's basically if you don't if you can't find work, it's so grim, like no one ever wants to do this, but if you can't find work, the government will pay you a little bit of money each week, but you have to go to these meetings where they're like, have you found any jobs this week? And you'd be like, I applied for some, but I didn't get any replies. And they'd be like, okay, come back next week. And it would be like that. So I was doing that for a while, and when just before I'd started university, I just couldn't find any work. And I found this advert on the sort of search function that they have on their website, and it was like, oh, they're looking for writers for this website. Oh, that sounds interesting. Let me sign up, because I like keeping myself busy and doing things while I'm unemployed. So I started as a writer for this website called Gigsoup, like a bowl of soup. I didn't choose the name.
Interesting name.
It's an interesting name. That's for sure. Gigsoup, and I started writing for them, and that quickly evolved into editing, and then I became one of the shareholders in the site, so I co-own it now, which is really cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What? Look at you.
Yeah, which is really cool. So now I'm senior editor, which is really cool, and it's one of my proudest career achievements, because it's like it blew up when I was working on it, and it's just really cool. It's just a really cool website, and I'm still part of it. It's more sort of ceremonial now because I'm busy with other things. But it was brilliant. I got to meet and interview so many people that I would never have met. I went to events and festivals that I never would have gone to, and it's just an amazing experience for me. I was doing it while I was at university as well, so I was studying and working for this website at the same time. But it just goes to show, it was just a little advert on a website, and if I hadn't gone for it, I wouldn't have had this amazing 5-year experience. Mm-hmm. I would just you never know where things are gonna go, and sometimes it's oh, they don't go very far, they go a little way, or they're just a highway that you drive down forever. That's such a weird analogy, you know what I mean?
Like that. No, that makes sense.
You know what I mean?
You took a leap of faith and it worked out for you.
Yeah, I would always advise, and it's that thing of what's it? Fortune favors the brave. It really does. But it's more that the brave put themselves in the path of fortune rather than fortune favoring them.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, I would say.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
What's the T1?
So T1 is my collective. And we formed whilst I was at university, I think, and we would just play live shows around the UK. So we'd each do a couple of hours DJing, and we would just host a night essentially. So we did that all around the UK for a while. That was really fun. But I feel like it's really interesting because kind of performing live is a whole different ball game to presenting something over audio, over the radio. It's a sort of personal stake in doing something live, which I kind of but I also find it kind of terrifying. Whereas the boys in my collective, it's me and 3 boys, they love that kind of unknown element of live performance, but I never took to it in the way that they did. So I'm kind of semi-retired now from doing that. But it was really fun, and we had a great time doing it. And they're 3 people who are also different and have such different music tastes, and we ended up doing a radio show together through the Roundhouse, which is this massive cultural institution in London, which was amazing opportunity. Again, you just have to go for stuff. We saw the outreach for shows to be pitched, and we just applied. Oh man, yeah, it was really fun. It was like being in a band in a way. It was good fun, but we've all sort of got peeled off and done our own things. 2 of the boys have another radio show in another London station. and I've moved into a sort of different podcast and much more sort of away from music, more into like, well, this kind of thing and current affairs and those kind of things. So yeah, it's just like people's interests changing, but you know, we were still a band once, but not really.
When you'll come back together, that one hit one.
We are still together, but obviously, like, we may go and do some more shows one day, but at the moment there's no shows, so.
Yeah, not for a while.
You just need a promoter, obviously.
Yeah. No, there's just no live music anywhere in the UK at the moment, so
right.
It's not happening. Yeah, it's not happening.
You guys should figure out how to blend these two things together and do the online music show.
Yeah,
get the group together and do a live show for your podcast.
Yeah, we did think about live streaming. There was just a time where we were properly locked down here. No one was gathering together outside of their households. So it literally just wasn't practically wasn't possible. We could continue doing the radio show and podcast from home because it's the great thing about the medium is you can just move it to digital, you know. And we did that, but like actually getting together and doing a live performance over stream, like you just couldn't do it here for a long time. Probably could do it now. Yeah. Maybe the band will reach. Who knows?
You never know.
Yeah.
And what is Cloudy Clouds?
Cloudy Clouds. So he is a good friend of mine. I just interviewed him actually for my radio show. He's a rapper, a friend of mine. He's about to release his first album, which is really fun. That was the last show that I did, was the Cloudy Clouds one.
And then your own podcast episode. What is that? For all the people who don't know.
My own show.
Yeah.
What's it called? So the show that I do with Transmission FM, which is the Roundhouse, the institution that I told you about, radio station, is called Fantastic Beats and Where to Find Them.
Oh, that's perfect.
We all took a day off when we came up with that title. And yeah, so it's just like a sort of current music show. We have guests on, we play music, we discuss things, and yeah, it's really fun. We looks like we're coming to the end of our tenure with it. We've been doing it for 2 years, but I think possibly we're going to stop doing it in September. So that'll be sort of, should we say? So yeah, that's my show, and then obviously I do this with you guys. And then have some things in the pipeline coming up, which are really exciting. But I can't talk about that yet. So
gagged.
Yeah, it is.
We need a soundboard so that we can have like sound effects, like
yes, that'd be so cool.
I know. You know, I was thinking about this. What we need is an air horn.
Right. Yeah, that's what we should do. I guess we should all just bring our sound making machine.
Perfect.
So you asked me what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah, so I do my own show. I'm still senior editor at Gigsoup, so I still oversee all of that stuff. I've just taken on a mentee, which is really exciting. So I'm like, yeah, mentoring someone at the moment, which is really cool. And then, yeah, I've got like secret things coming up. Yeah, which I can't talk about, I don't think, at the moment. But just stay tuned for that.
Yeah, stay tuned. Okay.
I'll tell you about it when we're not recording. But yeah, just it's been like a very exciting last couple of weeks for me, and definitely have some stuff around the corner, which is really cool. But yeah, can't talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. And then, what would you tell anybody starting out as like in doing sound for games, all of that?
Well, all that stuff that I said about the higher education thing, I'll just reiterate that if it's not. If you're keen on learning about sound design, you can very much, it's like we've spoken about this a lot on this podcast. There's the ability to teach yourself so easily and to take like a little taster of things. And there's lots of elements to audio and sound design. And, do you want to do games? Although game sound design is something quite hard to find online, online for tutorials. Like there really isn't.
Yeah.
There's one like online based out of Canada, which you can take like an actual course. Otherwise, it's like a lot of things. But the wonderful thing about like game development tools and game sound development tools like WIs and all those kind of things is they're free and you can just mess around with them, and there are tutorials for them. So if you've got an interest in this, before you load the money and start doing it in undergraduate, just don't take a little taste, take a little flavor of it, rather than jumping into an undergraduate degree. Just take a little flavor, just have a look and see what's available online. Try out free software, because like, all of this game development software is free. It's amazing. Like if you're just trying stuff out, it's amazing. Obviously like WIs for sound. If you've got a Mac, you'll have GarageBand just available, and just download like stock sound effects and glue them together and manipulate them. The wonderful thing about it is you can just try all of this stuff for free. But when you do get to that stage where you want like professional training, it's actually quite hard to find online for sound design in games. I've found anyway, but I could be not looking in the correct places. But just give it a shot, try it out, have a little taster, is what I would say if you've got an interest in this area. But it's brilliant. It's a really fun area, and because not a lot of people do it as well, like comparatively, it's a much smaller community, which is really, really great and really, really tight knit, which I really like. So yeah.
I remember you saying that when we originally interviewed you, about how challenging it is to find like game-oriented audio design and stuff like that. Do you think that's just because of the nature of audio and sound design being like kind of a very scientific thing? I mean, like, what are the other things that people do with sound design, right? I mean, I know that they're like sonic engineers for dealing with like urban development and vehicle design and aircraft design and stuff like that, but that's all very, very high-end scientific stuff, right?
Yeah.
Is that, I don't know, I'm just kind of speculating. What do you think?
I actually, do you know what? I think it's partly that people possibly are put off by that quite seemingly scientific side of it.
Yeah.
But it's not that hard actually to get the basics down if you're really interested in designing sound. But also I think it's because it's, say in a film scenario, so in like a film crew, you have like director, cinematographer, blah, blah, blah. I mean, those are the sexy jobs are the director, cinematographer, scriptwriter. And that's just because those are sort of the known ones. That's what everybody wants to do. And I think with game development as well, there are certain roles that like, I want to do this, that, I want to be a character animator. But then there's all these other roles that are amazing and really rewarding, but they're actually not like,
not as sexy.
Sexy. That's the thing. And like sound design is not seen as sexy. So I think people kind of forget about it. And because we're sort of visual creatures first and foremost, I think people almost think that it doesn't matter in terms of creating a world, but actually it really, really does matter. It's so
huge,
important.
yeah.
It's so important. But once you hear bad sound design, especially in like a game, if you hear it, it breaks your immersion. And in films too, anything. And it's almost like this sort of invisible player in this big game, that you're participating in. So just because, it's just not seen as like a sexy thing to do, but it obviously is. Look at me.
Wow.
That's why, and also, people are put off by the sort of the learning curve with the sort of scientific kind of theory element as well sometimes. But it's not actually that hard.
Well, what are the classes like? I mean, you say you want to do the college education. So what does that track look like?
This is the question. I have done it. You don't need to do it. I don't think, but you can. You could. For video game sound, probably what you would start by doing in the UK anyway is either going to a specialist undergraduate, because there are a couple in video game audio. There's not many, but there are a few. Or failing that, if you can't go there or don't get the grades, you just sign up to a game development course, a general one, and then specialize in video game sound. A lot of people I know did that at my university. So yeah, that's what it would kind of look like. But there's really not a lot of like professional training for it. A lot of it's just messing around on your own and learning. A lot of people's pathway into the industry kind of goes that way. Yeah. So
essentially, the main reason why you're speculating here, that you should get the formal training is so that you have the doors open for those other fields potentially.
No, I don't actually think you need formal training in it. You can do that if you want. Like, people learn in different ways. But as you say, like, I don't actually think you need like an undergraduate training to do it. You can very much learn yourself. But it does help, like having the connections of a good university is always helpful, but it's not necessary.
So, not for video games, but if you want to do video games and just video games, that just pigeonholes you into only being able to do video games.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So it's not necessary. I just happen to do it because I like that kind of learning style, but you don't need to
do your hobby for a living.
Yeah, that's what you want to. Yeah, that's what you want to be doing. So, yeah.
Guarantee you, everything that anybody wants to do, somebody is willing to pay for it.
Okay. Exactly.
It's time for a challenge.
Time for a challenge. And don't worry, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for you. I see you, and I'm ready for you. So,
challenge to the GameDev.tv students could be anything.
Okay. Mine's a bit of a cop-out actually, because it's kind of a challenge, but it depends on what kind of person you are. But I would definitely say, if you're like me and you're like quite a hyperactive person who's like always doing things, challenge yourself to just like take a little break. I know it's really hard for people sometimes, but just a little tiny break out of what you're doing, just to like have some time to yourself. And I think it is actually really helpful to just sort of sit with yourself and not be working. It gives you time to like work out your goals, what you want to be doing, your focus, that kind of thing. So it's like kind of a challenge. It is actually quite a challenge for some people to do. But yeah, I would just take a little break. There's always time for a little break, but just a little one, and maybe like reassess things would be my challenge. Yeah.
Okay, I like that challenge. Well, it was a pleasure having you on and letting me interview you and go through your whole entire amazing backstory. Woo! But now the mic, we hand it to you, so you can do any shout outs, any last inspiration, and the mic's yours.
Okay. So, do I have anything to shout out? Let me just think. Yeah, all of my, like the things I'm going to be doing haven't like happened yet, so I can't really shout any of them out yet. But yeah, obviously my radio show is still going on. Fantastic Beats and Where to Find Them. And you can find me and my collective if you want to look at all the band photos that we have, where we all look very moody. Which is important for a band. We all look. I frown a lot in pictures, but I'm actually quite a happy person. For all of those things, I'm frowning. So anyway, our social media is t.1.collective without the final e, and you can like find our radio show there. All of the things. The website that I co-own is gigsoupmusic.com. It's like music reviews, think pieces. Like, we always need new writers, so please come along. And like, I always give people feedback. I think it's like, we were talking about this earlier, Aaron, it's so important to get feedback on your writing and feedback on your work. So if anybody would like to write about music, please come along to Gigsoup and hit me up, because we always need people to, like, we always need new voices. And
gotta write stories about Danny Carey's amazing polyrhythm drumming.
Please, that sounds amazing. Please come along. It's it's a great little community, Gigsoup. I'm really proud of it. And then otherwise, just I'm always here on this podcast with these guys.
These dorks.
These buffoons.
I'm literally plugging the thing that I'm currently doing. Is that a plug? Yes.
Plugception.
Plugging the thing that you're currently doing, yes.
Plugception. So I'm also a co-host of the GameDev.tv community podcast.
Which is this.
Which is this. With these lovely boys.
Today.
It's just literally this. Give it a watch. Give it a listen. You can't watch it because it's a podcast. Give it a listen, sorry. And that's it. Got lots of exciting things in the pipeline. Blah, blah, blah.
Kids, don't make WoW unless you're me.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't make WoW. Maybe make all the sound effects for WoW if you're me. Follow your dreams.
Well, that's it. Thanks for listening. You can find all GameDev.tv courses at courses.GameDev.tv/courses or in the show notes with a 10% discount. Get started with your game development journey today.